Everyone who's been on a spiritual journey, who's wanted to connect with stillness, has had a desire to come and be in nature. And everything in nature, it just returns us back to our natural state of calm because it's not interrupted continually by a chaotic mind. The tree's not worried about what the flower next to it thinks about it, or what sun is shining on what flower and when, and that's not fair and I'm in the shade. The plants, they don't compete with one another, they just exist in harmony with one another, always in connection with one another, continually sending information through the web underneath the soil. I mean, some trees will know when another tree is struggling, and then they will die and give their nutrients to that tree. And it doesn't even have to be the same species of tree. So they're very altruistic, and nature is very altruistic. And it's not like we are separate from nature. When we get caught up in the mind, we think we're a walking head, but we're not. We're actually very altruistic. We're very caring. It's just that the stress causes a lot of activity in the mind. And so as a human species, we have this inner conflict going on that maybe the plants don't have. And so the plants remind us of who we are, remind us of how altruistic we are, and it's a non-verbal communication. And so that's why nobody has problems with nature, nobody has problems with plants, nobody gets offended, because they don't work on that intellectual, they're not working in that intellectual sphere. And so there's so much we can learn. And every single guru probably has spent a lot of time just putting their attention on the stillness within nature. My teacher, who I feel very devoted to and connected, spent over 40 years just putting his attention on the stillness in nature, in silence. And then he received information in the form of sounds, and understood that those sounds had an effect on the body and on the nervous system and could heal and calm the nervous system. And those sounds in the West are referred to as mantras. And when mantras are given to us by a teacher who is in a high state of consciousness or has created a technology to raise another person into a high level of consciousness, so that when they speak that sound or give that sound to another person or ignite that sound, there is an inner stillness that's transmitted and an effect on the nervous system. And all of that information is primordial. All that information came from nature. And there are a lot of shamans that go into nature and spend years in nature and learn to communicate with the plants. And the plants will say which one is poisonous, which one is healthy, which one heals. They'll even receive information in the form of songs and different sounds that they can then use in ceremonies to heal other people. And it's not like the plants are singing, it's just the way that it's translated in the human nervous system. But nature is so altruistic, it's so helpful, it's always trying to communicate to humans. It's always trying to throw us a bone. It's always trying to give us things to help us relax. It's always saying, come join us. You're part of us. We know you're struggling now. We know that you have a brain that gets affected by the stress you receive through your senses, and that you have a lot of thought activity and you can get swept up. But here, let us give you this and that so that you can reduce that noise and you can come join us. Just put the camera back up. It's fine. The camera dropped. It's not a bit. No, no, we'll just carry on. We're just carrying on because the camera dropped. Keep calm and carry on. Nothing is perfect. You see, the camera fell down. I'm not going to edit this out. I don't believe in perfectionism. Not everything's supposed to go as planned. And sometimes we end up beating ourselves up because we feel that we need to be perfect. And we get very disappointed when things don't happen the way we expected them to happen. And the tree doesn't care if it's a rainy day or if it's a drought. It just gets on with it. And so I'd really love for us to feel that we don't need to be perfect and that we're going to be okay. And that we were born exactly how we need to be. We don't need to add more information. We don't need to add anything to ourselves to be okay and to have a right to exist and to be of service in the world. Sometimes, especially in the West, we're brainwashed into thinking that we're not okay and we need to change and we need to fix ourselves and we need to get more information. We need to learn more. There's something wrong with us. And, you know, especially sometimes with the parenting, there's the anxiety of the parents. You're not going to be okay. You're not okay the way you are. And that's just not true. Nature never judges you. A flower never judges you. Your animals never judge you. And that's why you probably like your dog more than your boss or even your partner sometimes. Because they're always happy to see you, no matter whether you've messed up that day. And there's always imperfections in nature everywhere. Bent trees, burnt things, broken things, but it's all beautiful. I mean, the best decorator is nature. It just all works. If I was to build a house, it would be just indoors, outdoors, and I just let nature do the heavy lifting. And you don't need to like be painting anything or doing anything much. You just need to plant some trees and flowers, and job is done. And so I encourage everyone to plant trees, to get into the garden, to go for walks, to reconnect with nature. It's free. Everybody can go outside. Most of us can. And if you can't, you can also watch nature documentaries and things. And it will communicate with you. It's always communicating with you. And if you have pets or animals, they're not, they're always of service. They're not really pets. They're more like angels. And we see dogs walking owners around. They're the ultimate ways to get fit. And they are with those people for a reason. And they're little furry gurus. So gurus can come in many different forms, non-physical forms. Doesn't have to be a human. It could be a plant. It could be an animal. It could be something else.